you, Mr. Ali Braswell, for that phenomenal introduction. It is an honor to be speaking with you on the day that we all honor the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Because I am a lifelong student of Dr. King's work. Growing up on the south side of Chicago, I became familiar with Dr. King's work at an early age. And after the passing of my mother when I was just 8 years old, I was raised by my sister in a small rural community in western Illinois. But before I go on to speak more about myself, I first want to reintroduce myself because many of you know me as Daralene Jones, the 4 p.m. anchor at WFTV Channel 9. But there are 4 people in this room who simply call me Mom. My husband and my 3 young children. Thank you so much for being here today. And let me begin by thanking the City of Ocoee, Mayor Rusty Johnson, our commissioners, and the City of Ocoee Human Relations Diversity Board for inviting me to be here with you today. I attended a majority white junior-senior high school in that rural community in western Illinois. Coming from the south side of Chicago, it was true culture shock for me. But I embraced that change and I used my time in that space for good. So when our school held its first formal Black History Month program, I jumped at the opportunity to get involved. And I volunteered to not only memorize, but recite Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech. That speech was my hope. At a very young age, I wanted to pass on that vision and that powerful message of hope to others. The words written and spoken by Dr. King in that speech gave me permission to have a dream. And while we all likely have a few of those quotes from that I Have a Dream speech recorded to memory, today I am here with you to highlight a point from another piece of Dr. King's literary work. On the campus of Stanford University, a year before Dr. King was assassinated, he spoke about what he described as the other America. In his speech, he described a myth about racism in our society. The idea that only time can solve the problem of racial injustice. That we should be patient and continue to pray that maybe in the next 100 or 200 years, the problem of racism itself will work itself out in time. Dr. King's response to that myth appears complex when you hear it, but when you read it, it's really quite simple. He states for those in the audience that the myth is that time is neutral. It can be used either constructively or destructively. And I'm absolutely convinced, he states, his words, not mine, that the forces of ill will in our nation, the extremist rightists in our nation, have often used time much more effectively than the forces of goodwill. Those are Dr. King's words, not mine. He goes on to say that it may well be that we will have to repent in this generation, not merely for the vitriolic words of the bad people and the violent actions of the bad people, but for the appalling silence and indifference of the good people who sit around and say, let's just wait on time. Somewhere we must come to see that social progress never rolls in on the wheels of inevitability. It comes through the tireless efforts and the persistent work of dedicated individuals, and without hard work, Dr. King says, time itself becomes an ally of the primitive forces of social stagnation. And so we must time is always right to do what's right. Dr. Martin Luther King didn't wait on time. He wasn't silent. He was never complacent. We cannot afford to be complacent because we still have work to do to achieve true equality. The time is now. There are still imbalances in our community, so because of that, I'm here to remind you today, the time is always right to do what's right. We should not wait until the days leading up to MLK Day to pour into our communities through service. Ask yourself, what are you doing to serve your community? And then I want you to do me a favor this afternoon and look to your neighbor on your left and your right and hold them accountable and ask them, what are you doing to serve our community? Because my friends, it is through service that we are afforded an opportunity to show love to our neighbors. It is through service that we are given an outlet to break down the barriers and inch a little bit closer toward achieving true equality. It is through service, my friends, that we lift up everyone in our community, not those who look like us, not just those who think like us, not those who are just friends to us. We lift up everyone in our community, and it is through service that actions speak louder than words. Everybody can be great because anybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree. You don't have to have subject-verb agreement to serve. You only need a heart full of grace and a soul generated by love. Those are the words of Dr. King. Dr. King did his part, so we must look and ask ourselves, what are we doing? I once heard a story about a man who was robbed and beaten in the middle of the day on a busy New York City street. One by one, people passed by, but not one person stopped to help. One person thought, well, someone else will call 911. Another person figured, well, someone caught it on cell phone, probably. Another person was already late to work with their boss, and they thought they wouldn't get promoted if they were just 1 more minute late. Most of the people who passed by the man who had been robbed and beaten, they decided it just wasn't my business to get involved. Well, guess what? There was another robbery in the same place the next week. The next week it happened again. I think you know where I'm going with this. The crime in that neighborhood got so bad because everyone knew you could get away with crime in that area. And it's because no one took action. They all thought it was someone else's responsibility. How many bad apples have you seen spoil your community because you thought it was someone else's problem to deal with? Or maybe you thought, well, we just need to give it time and things will get better in time. Perhaps fear convinced you that you would suffer consequences if you got involved. I am here to remind you today that the time is always right to do what's right. We can't wait on our neighbors to create the change we want to see. We can't wait on our neighbors to speak up against the bad apples or to nurture the fruit tree to keep the good apples from finding a new home. We can't wait because when we do, then we become the people Dr. King spoke about in that speech about the other America. We become the people who have to repent for the appalling silence and the indifference because we sit around and simply wait on time. I want to bring this a little bit closer to home. Many of you may know that the work that sparked the civil rights movement that Dr. King's work was a part of dates back to the horrific murders of Harry and Harriet Moore in 1951 right here in the state of Florida. Two great community leaders in Brevard County who were not afraid of the KKK. No, they're not. An admirable husband and wife, teachers in their community who stood for something. Mr. Moore founded the very first branch of the NAACP the threats on his life. Mary Moore kept fighting. And Florida at one point touted the highest number of black voters in the South because of his efforts. That progress proved to be too much for the white supremacists, who decided that it was okay to plant a bomb underneath his family's home on Christmas Day. He and his wife had to be rushed to a hospital in Sanford in Seminole County because the hospitals in Brevard County would not treat them because of the color of their skin. They did not survive. Like Dr. King, Mr. Moore knew that the only way to help shine a light on inequality and injustice was to believe in something, to speak up about it, and to take action. Dr. King taught us not to be discouraged by the resistance to do what's right, but to be encouraged by those who continue to join in on the fight for equality. Those who choose to be on the right side of history, those who choose courage over fear, those who choose to serve our community, those who choose to love others without conditions, those who choose to act knowing that the time is always right. What? To do what's right. It's been more than 70 years since the start of that civil rights movement, and our fight continues today. So I ask you this afternoon, what do you want our world to look like in the next 70 years? The picture that you paint in your mind here this afternoon is developed based on the work that you are willing to do in our community right now. Not the work of your neighbors, not the work of your brothers, your sister, the politicians, the elected officials in this room, but the work you are willing to pretend and do right now. It's okay, you can clap. Don't be afraid to be the only one to think out about the unjust, the wrongs, the inequalities that we face today. If you are a young person in this room, and there are many of them, you're listening to this speech wondering, well, she's just talking about the old people. She's not talking about us. Well, you're wrong. Because guess what? Dr. King was only 15 years old when he gave his very first speech in Dublin, Georgia. So guess what? That means you too can start the work now to consider how you can affect change. The work starts now. We all have an obligation to use our voice for good, for the greater good, because the time is always right to do what's right. Dr. King did not just protest Monday through Friday, he fought the good fight every day. There can't be rest when there is still work to be done. And so today I challenge each of you to do your part. Our actions will force a seismic shift in our communities. And there's good news today. People in masses of all races, religions, and backgrounds are in this fight. The fight for continued progress, the fight for true equality. Because they too know that the time is now. Our children and their children are counting on us. The work we do today is important because our children are watching. Our children are listening. And so what we do, the work we put into our communities, it matters for my children, for your children, for your neighbor's children, and their grandchildren. So, when you walk out of the doors today, I want you to think about those words. What can you do right now? Because the time is always right to do what's right. Thank you, and may God continue